So, hi everybody and welcome back. This is Unreal Engine 5 tutorial series for absolute beginners. This is video 47 and in this video we are talking about Niagara and we go right into it. So, first of all, how we create a Niagara effect. We go to our content drawer, then we go to our game folder, and in our game folder we go to the FX folder, which we don't have. Let's create one new folder and let's call it, in this case, VFX for visual special effects, and I color this also to base color. And then we open this up and right click in this folder and we go here on top in common basic assets. We have already a Niagara system, but I want to show you something. And you can find this one also here in FX, right? And here you see a little bit more options. And in this video, we will talk not about much. We will only talk about this one and perhaps this one, and the other ones are more which you will learn on your own, and how I will show you how you can easily learn them. So let's create this Niagara system. And then in this Niagara system, you have here options. In my case, I have 4 options. Perhaps you have only 3 options. And here I activated this new fluids Niagara plugin. And if you don't have this, let me show you before I create this how you get this plugin. You go here to edit, then in edit you go down to plugins, and then you write here Niagara, and here on the bottom this is the new Niagara Fluids plugin, and it will give you more templates which you can work, but they are really high quality, can cost a little bit your performance, so you should have a good PC for that, I think, but they are not bad. So after you activated this plugin, you have to restart your PC and then back to this place, right click, we go again in, we go to Niagara System, or you can go here on top, it's the same, but I go here because I want to show you this one too. So I click on it and then I have to choose. Let me show you fastest options which you have here. You can choose basics, which you had normally, and in this basics we have here actually templates which we can choose from. That's nice. And in general we will start with one of this template. Then we have here parent emitters, which means we inherit. It's not so important right now for us. You can inherit from, we are using these templates. And then we have here behavior examples. This is one step further. You can we will not talk about this one too here, but this one is if you want change their, it says behaviors, and then read how you make this one. We are using this normal templates, and let's click, let's see how we can add them. So let's say you are interested in this fountain, that looks cool. Then here on the bottom we have a plus sign, and interesting is you can add more because we created a system. So you say I want a fountain, and let's say I want one more. Let's say I want, I don't know what this, no, this not. Let's say I want this other thing here. Let's say just this one burst, something like that. And then you can plus here and add this too. And then after you have all added what you want, you create finish, and then you name this one. Let's call them Niagara System, and S for Niagara System, and underscore. This I don't know if this convention is here right, but let's call it an S and Niagara System, and I call it test. Of course, you should not call it test. Call it something which you think is the right for you. Then double click on it. We open it up, and we check now a little bit our Niagara system, what we have here, what all this is, a little bit the window. It's very easy and self-explanatory, but let me go through fast. Here on the right side we have already a preview, but careful, we have added 2. So which one is that actually? So when I click on the fountain, I see, okay, and when I click here I can't distinguish this one, right? And then we can go here down to our renderer. Renderer means show this, I can uncheck this, and now it's gone, which means the other one is not even here anyhow, or I can't see it. Right now I can't see it. Ah, it is there. It comes only late, you see. So because this one is so bad, I delete this one right away. So you can see, you can select one of these boxes and kick it away. And here I activate this one. Now we are back to our fountain. With the mouse wheel, we can zoom in and so on. So we are here back. So let's talk here a little bit more. So we have here the preview. Here we have parameter lists. We will talk a little bit about them in a moment. Then we have here in the middle our system overview. And important is here, it is called a system overview because we can add here as much as we want of these emitters. This one are called emitters. This one is the system. This is so the rule how all works together later anyhow. And we can, by right clicking, add an emitter. Emitter is this one. And let me right click it. And then you see I have again the options which I had at the start. So I can add again something, let's add this time this one and see how this works. Okay, there is something like coming up. And this one is rotating again. Let's click one of them away. Let's see. And now I see the other one. And how they behave and so on. Let's click this one away. So now let's continue on the, when I click one of these things, emitters, then on the right side there are just options, and on the bottom we have here a timeline, which means just, let me show this again. I can again see how this all plays. Of course I can stop it and play it again. Now I have here, I use this red line, which means I decided the endpoint, so it loops here all again, and here standard choosing and showing how this plays. Okay, this is all right. Then we have something like curves, which we are not talking right now, and then here's some output log. That's not so important right now. So this one we need now to understand that one. This was just a short overview, but the nice thing about this whole Niagara system is it looks very complicated when I click here, look this parameter list, but it's absolutely easy. And what I mean with that, let me go here fast to the documentation. And when we go to the documentation here, where it says not Niagara tutorials, this one we go later. When we go here to getting started, and in getting started, we go to Niagara overview. And here, actually, the whole system are only 4 things. System, emitters, modules, and parameters. If you understand this, then you have understand Niagara system. Of course, we have to see what this means. The system, we have already seen, that was this one. Okay, this is our system part. Cool. Then we have this emitters. Okay. This one is our emitter parts, which we can choose. Yes, and we can choose here by right clicking and then add emitter, and then we can create an emitter. And if you create empty, then you start from scratch. And interesting is here, or let me show this to what's going on. I clicked something strange. Yeah, now it works again. Okay. And interesting is here the empty emitter looks almost same as the emitter with this fountain here, right? And the reason for that is this empty emitter is already prepared for you to just select what you need, and you don't need code anything actually. That's the perfect part. So we have just to learn how to use this emitter. For example, this fountain has here just this render emitter has just a material included, and then it pops up and so on. So we have just to learn how to use this already empty one and fill and learn this little bit stats here. Okay, let's continue a little bit. Okay, we know we have to know what these emitters are, and then these modules. What is these modules? Okay, these modules are actually how we use this emitter. With other words, you can now go, this emitter has actually only, let's go here, you see 1, 2, 3, 4 parts too. No, it has even 5 parts. It's not seen here because you have to go here to plus and you can add here some more. And an important one would be this event handler later perhaps, because this one can communicate with other emitters. So you can set up that this emitter is doing something and later this emitter is reacting to this one. So this one is also important. So you have to learn around, let's say 5, right? And then here, this one. And this one you have just to learn. And this one is just an example. Let's kick this out and see this one here. And so that's it. And we was talking with our modules actually. And modules are when you press this plus sign on the sides. For example, we have here the different kind of options. And you want now extend it. And then you have options how you can extend it and what you are going to add to this emitter. For example, you add here spawn rate, how much it should spawn something here. And then you can choose the spawn rate on the right side. This selection is like a detail panel. Actually, it is a detail panel, but here it's called selection. And then you can set the spawn rate, for example, 90. Of course, here is spawning nothing because it's right now empty. We have set up a little bit what we want spawn and then update how we want spawn and so on. But all this kind we can show in already created emitter. Let's take this one here. And we can see it here in this case. And of course I have, to run my play here. And then you can see what happens here in this case, for example. So let's go on a little bit and let's see what we have. Okay, modules are just meaning I can add here to my empty emitters some additions and so on. That sounds all complicated. It's easy because later you are going to create some tutorials here. I will show you them where they are. You are just following some of them and you know all these parameters very easy. Let's go. There was one more, right? There was one more, and that was the parameters. Where are they? And they are actually here, the parameter list. So let's delete this one again. This one, and this one is our more or less our start point. And you see there are already parameters in, and later you are adding or deleting, depends on your needs here, parameters. So this set, let's continue. Now these are the start point parameters, and here when you click you have this parameters and so on. And I think that's already almost it. And what you see here, this coding part is actually just let's call it, you can of course go here to the coding part as well for all these modules, but they look a little bit difficult, but it's not, but it's only much. But let me show you. For example, we have here a module, this one, Initialize Particle, and this one, when I double click on it, it jumps up this big list here, for example, and this is already prepared. What you have to do is normally not just to prepare here, to change here the variables. That's your job normally. But of course, you can even change this code if you want. And interesting here to note is this one looks very, very long and so on, but actually they are just manipulating variables, no more, not less. What I mean with variables is, for example, here it says color. All this whole block, what you see here is just manipulating color, and that means they are adding or subtracting values to it and combining them, and end result is a color. And that same goes for mass. They get something in and then they're adding and subtracting something, and their end result is a mass. And then we have his sprite attributes and so on. You get the idea what I mean. They are just manipulating some variables actually that looks so much, but actually it's not so difficult. It's only much work, yes, but not difficult, straightforward. Okay, that said, I think now I will not make here an example because that takes just too long. And what I want to show you here on instead we can create here one more thing. I showed you that here on the FX. Okay, I'm here back, right click, go to FX. We can of course create just the emitter. Here we have the system and here Niagara Emitter. So what is the difference about this one? And you can see here we have now only this option here. Next, we can again select this emitter like before, finish, and it is just the emitter. And it looks like the system, but careful, here is no system node. And when I right click on it, there happens nothing. So you are just working here with the emitter. But this emitter you can later use in a system when you created here something. Let's go here, anything. Oops. Okay. And when I create this one here, and I created this emitter, I can use that here in my system. I can add this here because here I can combine these emitters, what I have. You see, I can combine many, and then with the system variables, I can use them together. So don't worry if you don't understand all what I say, because this is just more or less an overview. And later, when you make the tutorials, which I'm going to show you now, then this all stuff are very easy. And let me show you where you have to go for the tutorials. Here in this documentation section, there are more places. The one place is in the getting started section. There is a quick start. This is the first place. And in quick start, yeah, here there are this tutorial. This is the standard tutorial. Okay, this is the older one from UA4, but this one will work too. And then you follow just this quick start is all time a very good tutorial in this documentation, because it is step by step. It goes step down after you finish this one, and they explain all what you do. You click finish step, then you do all this one, and then you can go through. Okay, they create here materials too. Actually, they start here down with the Niagara stuff, and then you can follow this tutorial. The next one is also very nice. You can go down to Niagara tutorials here on the left side, and then you have here a lot more tutorials where they show how to create them. So there are really nice things. For example, I don't know, click one mesh balloon effect here, and then you follow just the tutorials like this. I scroll down to see the end result. Let's go down, and then you have something. Oh, this is really down. But then you have something like that, right? After you follow the tutorial, you learn all these little things what I told you. They start then later here. Okay, they start all time with creating a material. That's okay. But then they explaining all these emitter settings here. They are only 4 parts, and then they are explaining why this and why that, and so. This I can't explain here on this videos. This makes no sense. So you follow just the tutorials. That's it. But what I can show you more, which is very interesting perhaps, is let's create one more time. We go here to the FX, to the Niagara system. And that was this plugin which I mentioned first. You can select now this one. I will not select one. And if you clicked after you enable this plugin, restarted your PC, then you have this, and then you click next here, and now you see here this new fluid systems. They look much more difficult, but they look much more better than the standards what we have here. And you can of course then check this out too if your PC is good. I don't make this right now, my PC is not good. So anyway, they look really cool. They astonishing, and in YouTube you can find very examples how many people show how cool they look like and so on. Then one more thing what I wanted to show. Let's create one more Niagara system. Let's go to the standard. Let's go to the fountain, and this time I click this adding finish, and let me show this one too. And here what I wanted to show is this render thing here. You can add here different kind of renders. Later in tutorials they show this too, but I show you what I mean with you have just to learn these options here. For example, let me close them all. You see there are actually only this 4 options in this case. So you say, I want change here the render. Render means I want change what this thing is putting out. Then I can click here or here, plus, and then I have here options. In this case, it is activated something like sprite renderer. This time I want I go here, for example, to mesh renderer. Now I have mesh renderer, but they are overlapping. So I activate this sprite renderer. And now in mesh renderer, I select I go to the right. This is details panel, like similar section, selection panel. And then we go here to the mesh, and then I go to the mesh place and I select a funny mesh which I want render. For example, in my case, let's render something not too difficult, or it will do something. Where is the funny thing? Let me render this chairs was funny. For example, now my renderer will render chairs. You can see we have not only render sprites or something like that, we can render objects too. In this case, it was just a sprite. Sprite means it costs not so much, it's 2D. That's very important to know. And mesh means it's most time 3D what you are rendering, but this one works also. And of course you can then change so on. I think I stop this video here. Now you know what I mean. And one more thing perhaps, which is very important to know. After you created this thing here, the question is how you add this to your character, but it's absolutely the same thing what we did so far. Instead of, let me open this fast up. Let's go to this one. Let's go, oh, where I have my character animation, not even right. So, the same thing here, you go to your animation sequence where what you have, and then here as a track, you add track, add notify track, for example, and then you name this again what you need, and then here right click, or you can use actually also here one already existing track, but I make this one now with different tracks to show you what I mean. And then you can here add notify. Last time we used something like this blueprint notify or this one, and now you have to select this play Niagara particle effect, and then you can select this Niagara version. And in my case I created this strange thing that makes no sense, but let's see what's happening. And now I shot here this chairs out of me. Of course this is, and you can make here very funny things and so on. But of course, this one I will not make. Let me delete this one here again. Okay. And with that said, we can stop here. And now you are on. So your job is now to, if you want to learn these tutorials here, they are a very good explained step by step. And then you know all what you need as a beginner. Of course, there are more advanced stuff too. For example, to create modules or to go to the coding stuff. That's a little bit advanced, but this kind of stuff is very simple, straightforward. You just learn how to use these modules, change a little bit some buttons here on the right side, plus minus numbers, and that's it. So with that said, I stop here and we will continue in the next. Bye so far.